So my story begins probably a little over 30 years ago. I was really questioning my relationship with Christ, or really my relationship with religion. I didn't realize that there needed to be a relationship with Christ. And God blessed us by moving our family to Rock Hill, South Carolina. And while we were there, we found this church. It was a church that was kind of doing things a different way. It hadn't changed the message of Jesus, but it changed the way the message was being presented. And so the music was more relatable and the message applied to life today. And at that church, I really understood who Christ is and that he wants this personal relationship with me. It wasn't about rules and regulations and liturgy. So my husband and I had the opportunity to move back to Hartsville about 29 years ago. And so I wanted to find a church like that here in Hartsville. Unfortunately, the churches at that time really weren't offering that worship style here in Hartsville, but we did find a great church with a lot of super kind people. But my heart was really burdened that there needed to be a church here in Hartsville that people who didn't go to church regularly or maybe hadn't been back in church in a long time, and even my teenagers that I work with at the middle school and the high school, a place where they could relate. And so I just began to really pray that God would bring a church to Hartsville that had music that was relatable and a message that applied to life today, a place that my teenagers would enjoy. And I just, every day going to work, I used to work in Darlington, going back and forth to work, that 20 minutes there and the 20 minutes back, I'd pray and I'd pray and I'd pray about that type of church. And I prayed for over 20 years. I'm not gonna lie, I wanted to give up, but I should know that God's timing is not my timing. And so I think it was around 9 years ago, I was working with some teenage boys at Camp Sandhills, and I had the opportunity to take them off campus and bring them to a special worship service. And at that worship service, Daniel Watkins was leading the praise and worship, and it was like heaven opened up and God answered my prayer. I mean, I just felt the Spirit of God, and it was like, finally in Hartsville, here is a worship that is relatable. And I cried through most of the whole service. I don't know if Daniel noticed that or not, but he must not have thought I was too crazy, because about a week or two after that, he contacted me. And I knew Daniel because he and my daughter had been friends since third grade and had been in the youth group together. But he contacted me and he invited me for coffee. And he sat down and he shared that he and Jimmy were, they had had the same burden, that they had had the opportunity to go to some other cities and attend worship services that had relatable music and a relatable message. It was still the message from the Bible, but just presented in a way that people today could understand. And so they wanted to start a new church here in Hartsville, and I was super excited because, of course, I'd been praying for that for 20 years. And so during that time with Daniel, I committed to praying for that church and to support it financially. Now, I didn't have a lot because I'm a school teacher, but with what I could, I would support it. And so over the next year, that's what I did. I prayed and offered some financial support. And so about a year after that, I had the opportunity to attend one of the first services upstairs in the YMCA. The acoustics weren't great and the lighting wasn't great, but the message and the music were awesome. And I felt the Spirit of Christ, and I began to sense a change in the people that were coming. Started with maybe 60 people, and then a few Sundays later there would be 80, and then a few Sundays later there were 100, and now 400 people are showing up on Sunday morning. And it's not really about the numbers, but it's really about the people that are now coming, people that I hadn't seen in church in forever, people who maybe have not been in church ever. And it's just on Sunday morning to stand in that foyer and see the smiles and the laughter and the children running around, and just to recognize that God is using this church to make such a positive impact in Hartsville. So now we're knocking on the door of the next opportunity, the opportunity to have a permanent location in downtown Hartsville, which I think is awesome because, the Governor's School kids and the Coker College students can walk to the location. So that's just great. So once again, I am committing to pray for this new opportunity and to offer some financial support, because if I want to see Hartsville a better place for my children and for my grandchildren, then it's got to start with me.